What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and I came to kind of an interesting realization over the holiday break, and the odd part of the story is it came while playing a game with my family. We were playing a game called Farkle, which is a dice-based game, and there's a point system that goes into it, but like the finer details of the game aren't really that important. The main thing that factored into this is that ones and fives are pretty easy ways to get points, because like even one die that comes up with a 1 or a 5 gets you some sort of points in the game. And as we were going through the game, you roll the dice, you set aside a couple of them that are giving you some points, and as long as you keep getting points with each roll, you can re-roll and try and get more. And there came a moment where I myself kind of inwardly, knowing this wasn't true, but just it, seemed interesting, kind of almost amusing for the situation. I had 3 dice that I was rolling, and I was like, well, I need a 1 or a 5. That's a 1/3 chance. I'm rolling 3 dice. Statistically speaking, I have a 100% chance of getting points, but that is obviously not the truth of the matter, because when it comes to probabilities in that kind of situation, it's not just you take the probability of one die and multiply it or add it or whatever based on the number of dice that you're rolling. What you do with a set like that is you have to consider all the possibilities of all the dice. I'm not going to get into all the math and how that stuff works. You could probably just Google search it and find this out easily enough. But basically, you just have to take all the probabilities of all the dice combined. So rather than there just being 6 possibilities, if you're rolling 2 dice, there are 36 possibilities. Or if you're rolling 3 dice, there are 216 possibilities. And so any of those possibilities that involves a single 1 or a 5 in this case would be something that would get you points and keep your turn going. But there are multiple possibilities that involve neither a 1 nor a 5. So it's not just that simple, oh, if 1 die gets me this, 3 dice will guarantee something. No. But anyway, enough about the game in that situation. I kind of wanted to use that as a setup to talk about the idea of creation versus like the Big Bang Theory, and one of the somewhat popular scientific thoughts out there, one of the theories that's out there is basically that, given an infinite amount of time, it's inevitable that the universe would have come into existence. And, while that might seem like a reasonable and smart way to think about it, because, it's infinity, there's literally all the time ever. But I mean, there are a few complicating factors to that. The first one that I'm not even going to get into much here is that time as we have it defined didn't even exist before the universe existed, so how do you have infinite time before there was time? But also, connecting this to the Farkle story is the fact that infinite is just a weird thing. Infinity is a weird concept because it extends forever, first of all, and oddly enough, there are different kinds of infinity. I remember watching a Vsauce video a few years back about this, how there's countable infinity, and there are uncountable infinities, and it's just so weird. And there's infinity going purely with integers. There's infinity even just within a single number, because you can go infinitely small, you can go infinitely big. Infinity is weird. So even if you actually had an infinite amount of time, the problem is there are multiple infinities within just the factors that are needed to have the existence of our universe. Having the gravitational constant be what it is a huge factor in all that. And if that's even slightly off, who knows how different the universe would be if it would even exist. Especially when it comes to the Big Bang Theory, you change the gravitational constant and everything might not be able to expand out the way that it did. And not only that, there's certain, temperature conditions. There's, the forces of atoms sticking together. And there's there's so many different possible factors. And within each one of those, even if you had this universe-creating machine that was able to tweak these factors by the slightest margin, the question is, how slight of a margin do you go? Because you can go infinitely small of a margin. Do you change the factor by 1 in 1,000? By 1 in a million? How small do you change these factors? And which factors do you change, and how much? How often is this machine pumping out these universe probabilities? And it's just because there are essentially infinite possibilities, with very few of them actually creating a sustainable universe, then how it suddenly seems a lot less realistic to say that the universe would have to exist given an infinite amount of time. So again, myself being a Christian and believing in the creation of the universe rather than just its sudden existence out of nothing, it seems far more plausible to have a created universe than one that just came into existence. There are even other factors, like if you have this universe-creating machine, what created the machine? Or if you have, let's say there's no machine attached to it, and it's just these factors are constantly changing, you still have, even just taking one factor needed to create the universe as we know it, there are infinitely many possibilities within that one factor. Now multiply that by the countless number of factors that are required to have the universe as it is, and it seems completely ridiculous that the universe would just come into existence. Especially if you're thinking that, there was nothing and then suddenly there was something. Scientific laws pretty much make it impossible for something to come from nothing. That's alchemy, magic, not even alchemy. Alchemy is altering the state of things. That's straight up magic there. Or there's some sort of extra-worldly, outside of the universe power that would have created all of it and had a plan for it and known just the tiniest little tweaks of these factors that would make the universe sustainable and livable, at least in some parts of it. So, I find it interesting how, you know, a lot of these scientists are trying to think through their theories on anything, you know, logically. I mean, the universe coming into existence is obviously not something that we can test, therefore it's not able to be, you know, applied to the scientific method or anything like that. But that's why all we have are theories from science on how the universe came into existence. There is no way to prove any of it. And again, if you ask me, it seems a whole lot more plausible that the world would have been created by some sort of higher power, rather than it just suddenly coming into existence with no other factors involved. And if you say it always existed, then why would it have always existed? And why does it seem to be like it's been shown by science that the universe is expanding. So why would anything be expanding and moving around in relation to each other if it's always been there? Unless it's not really expanding and it's just, again, the movement in relationship to each other, and it's some sort of cycle that you go through. But there are a whole lot of mental hoops that you need to jump through to come to the idea of the universe not being created, at least the way that I see things. And the fact that such a simple mathematical principle like what applies in dice rolls and games like Farkle or Yahtzee or different things like that, the fact that a mathematical principle like that really isn't that hard to understand, especially for a scientist, that the lack of that in the discussion on universe origins seems kind of odd to me. If you have some other thing related to that specifically, or other factors that you think would give more evidence for the universe essentially needing to exist from a probability standpoint, or just from some philosophical thing, whatever. Whatever comments you have, leave them down below and let me know. And if you have other things you want me to talk about, let me know about those too. But as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to get updates when I post new stuff. And take a look in the description below the video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the information on those is all down there. I might be interested in doing more of these kind of sciencey / mathematical, analytical types of videos, because a lot of the other stuff I do can be very heavily debated. This seems a lot less debatable to me, but again, that's just me. Who knows? But anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next video. Stay cool, people.